saves you money. But if you could get both, why not? Especially when it comes to health care, and that is Medi-Share. You get both. Many families save $500 a month with Medi-Share, and that's huge. But it's also true that people wind up way more satisfied, too. The member satisfaction rate for Medi-Share is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. That's because Medi-Share works. It has for more than 30 years. It's a community of Christians who have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth. They love the huge PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton, like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan happy with, you can call right now and get a price in 2 minutes. Here's the number. Just call 833-44-BIBLE. That's 833-44-BIBLE. 833-44-BIBLE. If we want strong, healthy relationships within our families, we must allow Christ to change us. Without his transforming power, we'll struggle to be the parents, spouses, or children that God intends us to be. Our own efforts are going to fall short, but with God's help, we can grow in love, patience, and grace. God designed families, starting with Adam and Eve, and created us to live and thrive in this structure. But as we saw with Cain and Abel, sin can destroy family bonds. God expects us to care for our families, yet without his guidance, relationships will fall apart. Divorce and broken homes are sadly common today, but there is hope. When we turn to God and seek his wisdom, he can restore, strengthen, and bless our family relationships. With today's Moments in Grace, I'm Jim Scudder.
For making that song happen, because I'm talking about lighthouse parenting today and being a lighthouse. We've been talking about different parenting styles, and there are pros and cons of each. Now, one of the things to consider is that a lot of these parenting styles are really absent of any integration of faith component. So the bottom line is, if we're trying to parent on our own, if we're just trying to do it without any guidance from the Lord, we are destined to fail. We are absolutely destined to fail. So we've talked about helicopter parents, lawnmower parents, bulldozer parents, tiger parents, jellyfish parents, scrunchy moms, crunchy moms, Apple Watch dads, all of these things, that are there. We have talked a lot on this show before about gentle parenting, and this is coming from the age, we've been talking even this week about, you might have grown up in the age where basically our parents' parenting strategy was in 3 words. It was just suck it up, like get tough, move on, you're gonna be fine. We really didn't talk about our feelings. So this pendulum swung, and we really want to be sensitive to our kids' feelings, but we've gone too far. And I'm sure many of you have seen some funny reels on social media where we can play out gentle parenting. But again, some of those things are good, and some of those things are taken too far. I've also heard in a lot of Christian parenting communities about gatekeeping. And gatekeeping parents really want to close the gates and protect their kids from any negative influence that may come toward them. And that is really difficult, because we cannot do this in a world that is saturated with screens. We just cannot protect them from anything, anytime, anywhere. I remember when one of my children was very young and just walking through the grocery store, waiting in line at the checkout, and I didn't notice because I was trying to put everything on the grocery conveyor belt. This was before, you could order your groceries to be picked up, and maybe that's a solution. But she saw a headline that was extremely disturbing with pictures that were disturbing and asked me about it when we got in the car, and it just made my heart sink a little bit to think that something as benign as going to the grocery store would prompt that kind of exposure or that kind of question. And so yes, we do want to try to protect our kids from everything that we can, but the truth is, in a world that's living at the speed of a smartphone, the likelihood of them being exposed to something that we're not ready for, that we wouldn't choose, that we don't intend, is pretty much 100%. And we need to protect them while also equipping them to navigate cultural confidence with cultural chaos with confidence. That's what we need to do. So enter this lighthouse approach. Now, I first heard this, I'm not sure where it first originated, but where I first saw it was from a pediatrician named Dr. Kenneth Ginsburg, who has done a lot of research on resilience in kids. And I started thinking about the image of a lighthouse and what that is. And so I started doing some nerdy research and thinking, okay, what do lighthouses do? And I found this interesting information. Lighthouses actually have several functions. First of all, they help navigate. Lighthouses are built so they can guide ships safely into and out of harbors and warn mariners of dangerous areas like shallows or rocky coast. And they're there to provide that signal. And I thought, yes, as parents, we are there to help our children navigate in and out of our presence, in and out of our influence. We are not around our children 24/7, but we can be that lighthouse that provides navigation, that tells them where to go and how to get safely home. Lighthouses also help with identification. If you'll notice, lighthouses are painted differently. Many of them have you seen one with red and white stripes? That helps the mariners identify them during the day. So for example, if it's painted all white, if the surroundings are dark, or red and white stripes if it's against a white background, so that they can see it very, very clearly. And I thought about that. I read this sentence, lighthouses are painted differently. And I thought, you know what, as parents functioning as a lighthouse for our kids, we do present ourselves differently to culture. We may look very different from other parents who are around us. We may look very different in any area of context, but it's to help our kids identify that and to say, yeah, we may do things differently, but these are the values that my family holds on to. This was interesting to me too. Lighthouses are actually in close proximity to each other, and they have different flash patterns to help mariners identify their location. So I thought about that in the context of parenting. It's so important to have a village when you're parenting. We cannot do this alone, and we need to have people around us who are encouraging us, who are pursuing the same goals, the same values, that hold the same convictions that we do, who can help be other lighthouses for our kids and reflect that light back and have a pattern saying, yep, we're all in this together, here we are, and we're here to help you. Lighthouses also help in aerial navigation. So if they're flying, here we are, we can help with that. So I thought these were all interesting things to think about how to be a lighthouse parenting, a lighthouse parent. So lighthouse parenting combines the most important aspects of raising children. We're talking about being loving and protecting and nurturing, and also communicating with them. Lighthouses are used so much for communication, and so much of what we need in today's day and age, where we are digitally connected but relationally disconnected. We need to have that communication. We need to provide a stable source of guidance and maintain a healthy balance of stepping in, but also allowing them the freedom to grow. You may have read about some research looking at kids with boundaries. It's really interesting, because if you put kids on a playground and you put a fence around that playground,
お腹空いてるかね？
they're probably going to crash into the fence a few times, actually. They will play right up against the fence. They will climb on the fence. They will go all over the playground. But when you look at research, when you take that fence away, it actually causes fear and anxiety because they don't know where the boundaries are. And what kids do, it's so interesting. They congregated together and kind of huddled in the middle of the playground and stood together because they weren't sure how far they could go. And that's really important to think about because we need as parents to make sure that their play area is safe, that they do have some ability to take appropriate risks, to take age-appropriate risk. For example, if they're playing on the slide, well, they might fall off. But are you right there? Is there an adult there? Are you ready to respond? That is really important. So Lighthouse parenting really is a balance where you're not being overly involved and you're not dictating everything, you're not overly present, but you're not also being apathetic or permissive or overly permissive or just kind of hands off. That's really important. A big part of Lighthouse parenting means being present and available for your kids whenever they need.
今はもう電子タバコだけなんでしょ。お父さん、お父さん、今はもう吸ってるのは電子タバコだけなんでしょ。今吸ってるのは電子タバコだけなんでしょ。そう。少しは違うかね。普通のタバコと比べて。
それは違うよ。
どういうに違う？
電気タバコは薄いもん。煙だけだもん。煙を吸ってるだけで。
でもニコチン派に過ぎるじゃない。健康っていうかやっぱり体に悪いよね、ニコチンは。ちょっとは。それでもちょっとはいいと思うよ。
Easily recognizable, watching for signs of danger, giving guidance to a safe path. And when we are over involved as parents, we really don't even let our kids stop and ask for help because we are identifying the problems before our kids even see them, and we're providing solutions, and our kids are not struggling with those things. We need to let our kids struggle a little bit. We don't want to solve our kids' problems for them. We can't. A lot of times we can't. But the goal of Lighthouse parenting is cultivating relationships where our kids feel completely welcome, open, safe, and comfortable bringing issues, bringing challenges to us. And if they're confident that we will work through them, that they won't be alone. But what happens when we try to fix everything for them, and this can be something as small as, hey, I forgot my lunch, will you bring it to me? Well, there may be situations where grace is warranted, but there also may be situations where we can say, you know what? You won't starve by missing one lunch, and maybe your hungry tummy can be a good consequence and a reminder to don't forget your lunch. And we need to make sure that we are allowing them to experience those natural consequences when it is appropriate, and that can be hard. So some of the emerging principles that we're looking at in Lighthouse parenting is
病院の韓国の先生ドクターパーク、お父さんより年上かね。年は
知らない。
クリスチャンだよ。
it enough. We need to balance autonomy and guidance. Kids really need to know what they can do and be able to do that on their own. They really need to feel capable, and in a little bit I'll talk about those 7 C's also from Dr. Ginsburg of resilient kids and how we can have resilient families. But we need to balance, okay, when do we tell them what to do and when do we let them figure it out? Even if it's something small. And again, so often we want to fix their problems because we've got things to do. We have got places to go. We've got people to see, and we don't have time to wait in that struggle. But waiting in those struggles is really important. This can start as young as when your kids are making the bed. And, you know, if a 5-year-old's going to make the bed, that's going to take a long time, and it's probably not going to be perfect. So we just feel like, oh, let me just do it for you. Or maybe that's a teenager with their homework assignment, and they come to you for help, and the next thing you know, you're up to your elbows in glue and you're doing the poster yourself because you don't want to let them struggle in it because we don't have the patience for it. Another principle of Lighthouse parenting is giving kids enough space to experience and learn from failure, showing them that failure is not the end of the world, that it's okay to fail. So that's why a lot, and I know a lot of you parents, especially parents who are homeschooling, you're really rock stars at this, just giving kids some space to experiment, whether that's through science or whether that's through chores or whether that's through trying to learn a new skill or a new sport, and letting them say that, okay, this is not for me, and that's okay. Another principle is being available whenever guidance is needed. And that can be really hard, but it's about being very responsive. Whenever our kids need something, responding right in that moment. And that can be really difficult to do, but just providing guidance, not a quick answer, but guidance. We need to also foster independence. We see, especially after COVID, a generation of kids who are experiencing separation anxiety like toddlers used to experience it. They don't want to be away from their home. They don't want to be away from their family. They want to be in a group, and we really need to have situations where we are fostering that independence and saying, you can do this. You can do this on your own, and letting them do things on their own. So one of my favorite things to do to foster independence is when we're traveling. I may tell my kids who are older, okay, you show us where to go to the gate, or I'll meet you at the gate. You go find the gate and I'll find you here, knowing it's a safe environment and we can find each other there. There are so many different ways that you can do it in different ages and stages of life. But we really need to allow our kids the opportunity to make decisions and problem solve on their own. That is so important. Well, when we come back, I'll talk about the 7 C's of resilience and what specific things you can do to promote resilience in your kids. So when they experience failure, when they experience setbacks, that we can be there for them and we can encourage them to grow to be the person that God has created them to be. I'll be right back talking more about Lighthouse parenting and resilient families. We'll see you on the other side of this break.
What we believe about the Bible is based on what we believe about its source.
The God Who Speaks, the award-winning documentary from the American Family Association, is now available in a special limited edition DVD set. This release includes a Sunday school curriculum and 2 hours of additional footage. Go to the